Okay, I made a mistake. Instead of pausing the recording, I stopped it. So it's not going to be, we'll have to sort of like piece it together. So synopsis, last time we said that it's not possible. The main thing is to get to Emunah. Emunah is only meaningful if you're believing in the truth, in the actual truth. Because Emunah is accepting something that you can't know, or that you don't know yet, as fact, without having an empirical evidence. So, because without the Emunah being based on truth, the Emunah is meaningless. In fact, it's a folly. And the truth itself is also something which is based on Emunah. In other words, it's a cycle. What comes first? And just give an example that a person cuts another person with a knife. So this is al pi emes, it's an act of violence. Okay, this hakol moedim. Okay, now what happens is if you believe in medicinal surgery, and that person has actually performed surgery on the other, so that emuna gives a very different meaning to the act of cutting the other person. But if you happen to believe in in Chinese medicine, whatever it is that for them to take out one of the glands and whatever it is, that it's all a part of one system, so it's considered by them to be an act of violence. In other words, the truth that surgery has been performed is an act of violence or an act of kindness depends on the emunah. Do you believe in that system? You don't believe in that system, and so forth and so on. But nevertheless, so we ultimately come to the question, which is the subject of today's open mic night, as it were. How do you get to the ultimate truth? If the truth depends on what you believe in, and what you believe in depends on evidence, and that evidence can be only interpreted according to what you believe in, and so forth and so on. In other words, it's an endless cycle. How can you possibly ascertain what the true emes is, and start building your emunah according to that? So this is what he's talking about today. It is not possible to ascertain what the true emes is, except by getting closer to true tzaddikim, and keeping doing lemaisa what they advise. Even though there are obstacles in your way to adhere to the tzaddikim's advice. Tainu. I think this is something that even it seems to you that if you keep the aces of the tzaddikim, what's going to happen is that you're going to use your parnasa, you're going to, whatever. It says you don't have to worry about it. We read some of this last week. You don't have to worry about this because it's not. It's just a medama. It's your imagination that tells you that this is the way it's going to be. It's a false emuna by other people. Listen, if you don't go to, what are you going to devote yourself to avodas Hashem? You're going to lose. You don't have parnasa. You're going to have this. You won't have that. Whatever. And because this obviously depends on the emuna that there is a tachlis in things that you can achieve in this world. And if you don't work on that, what's going to happen is that you're going to lose out. But the emes amiti that you have to concentrate on the real emes, which is avodas Hashem. So, which is the point of view of the tzaddikim, and achinami, you have to take care of this world as well. But nevertheless, you have to do it from the perspective that the tzaddikim give you. Even if in the beginning it looks like it backfires, it does not. You just wait it out. Because ultimately there's no other tachas in this world except, Torah and mitzvahs masim tovim. And it says that you have to be mekayim the mitzvahs, the eitzes and the deos of the tzaddikim emes, and to behave al pi Torah in all the midas and all the anhagas according to their opinion, without any kind of regard to what are the obstacles that are on your way. Because when you're being close to the tzaddikim and you don't do what they say, it's not called being close to the tzaddikim, as it says in Likutei Halachos. It says you have to be very, stay away from the eitzah of people who are far, v'rishoim, or people who are mistagas to the emes, because their eitzahs, as plausible as they may seem, are actually the opposite of the emes. And we mentioned before also that by the kiyum mitzvah of tzitzis, you're zoichet emes, you are being saved from the famous taiva, and the eitzah for shoyim, you're zoichet tikkun abris, and you also zoichet to be mekayim the eitzahs of tzaddikim. This is how we ended last week. And now we get to Siman Vav, and it says as follows: Alidei tefila b'koyach. In other words, by davening forcefully. Hainu amiras oises atfilo b'kol hakoyach, with all your strength. V'akshava v'rikus l'milas atfilo, and listening, paying attention, and concentrating the words of the tefillah. Zoichim le'emuna amitis. This is the thing that gets you to true emunah. It's also says Shulchan Aruch or Achaim, Likutei Halachos, ki anybody who doesn't know what the words of the tefillah mean has to learn until you understand what the words mean. And there's a chiyuv not to skip any word of the tefillah, and by being very cognizant and very careful in tefillah every single day properly, especially when it seems like we said before, for me to say the tefillah, properly, word by word, bekoyach, I'm going to be spending, an hour and a half or 2 hours davening shachris. What's going to be with work? What's going to be with parnasim? It says, if you're still withstanding the nisayon for that, and you don't let this false machshavas enter you, you daven properly, you are zoche to be rescued from false emunas, and you're zoche to emuna amitis, you're zoche to true emuna. Okay, so let's open up the mics and see what it is I have here. Hold on, let's see. Get Okay. Okay. Um, Okay, so who wants to go? Who wants to go first?
I'll give it a shot.
Go ahead.
It's very deep stuff, and but I the way I understand it, or at least at this point, is that the truth, the absolute truth is is the uh, is the words of the tzaddikim emes, the
Mhm.
the our tzaddikim. That's the absolute truth, and which is to daven with all your heart and with all your soul and with everything you have.
Mhm.
And when you're following that truth, you develop a perspective on all of the on all of life, and then you can begin to sort out through this strength you get from this davening, your faith in this. Your faith is in the tzaddikim and the truth, and that their words are daven with everything you have. And when you do that, you begin to sort out and decipher what what um what is becomes what to follow, what truth to follow, what not truth to follow. Something along those lines.
Okay, so the question that I want to raise here is is following the eights of the tzaddikim, is that like a segula, like, or is that something that has like a logical explanation why only following the eights of the tzaddikim you can actually reach the emes? What do you think?
I'm not sure if I understand the
Okay, so
question.
I'll tell you a little bit what I mean. Um, I, you're probably familiar with um, um, Dr. Akiva Tatz, Rabbi Tatz,
Yes,
brilliant South African Chacham who happens to be medical doctor also. And he said that he flew to South Africa. He's South African. He flew from South Africa to England, or England, South Africa. And there was a missionary that sat next to him. And that missionary, obviously not knowing who it is that he was starting up with, um, tried with all his might and all his whatever it is to convince Rabbi Tatz, that Christianity is the way to go, that's the truth. So Rabbi Tatz, being as learned and smart as he is, he asked him some, various questions, like, how can you say that you know that that man was born on December 25th when everybody that that knows anything about it knows that that's not the date at all. And besides the fact that all the original accounts of what happened at the day when he was executed in the first books that they have, the gospels that they have, each one says a different version, a different day, how many people were there, who was there. Each one says a different version. And then 100 years later, they came with an official version of what happened, and all the other testimonies that came before were pushed to the side. We're not looking at them anymore. In other words, he came and he put him up with he faced him with contradictions in his own, in their own theories or arguments or whatever it is. I mean, the whole thing doesn't make any sense. So, like, they say that he is the high priest of whatever it is, and then they say he's an offspring of David HaMelech. He can't have both ways. Kohanim and is from from Shevet Levi, David HaMelech Shevet Yehuda. He can't have both ways. So yes, and so the answer this of this uh, um, of this missionary, he says, you don't get it. It's faith. In other words, it doesn't have to click. The different pieces don't have to click. It doesn't have to make sense. It's faith. There's no responsibility over here, as I said, to any precision, to any to truth. Just belief. So I asked you, you said, listen, that it seems to you that you understood from that by listening to the Eitzes of Tzaddik Emes, you're to the Emes and your perspective on life and whatever it is. So I asked you, is that a faith? What you're saying? Or is that something that can actually be explained logically? Why that's the only way to get to the truth?
Mm. I think the question is beyond my capacity to really respond to it.
Rabbi Soel, what do you?
I don't think I'm clear enough to really be able to give an answer to that.
Okay.
I didn't understand. The missionaries say that emuna is something where you believe in something what's not true,
Yeah,
or you.
he
It doesn't need to
showed
be
him.
fit.
He showed him stirot, his contradictions.
Yeah,
And this thing
right.
doesn't make sense. So this
So,
missionary says it doesn't make a difference. It's a faith.
you. Mhm.
It's a belief.
So emuna.
Like the truth is irrelevant.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that's not what we believe. We believe the opposite.
Okay. So that's what. So Rabbi Wise said that what he got from this, something that to me sounded, which is by itself is Baruch Hashem is very good, because Rabbeinu
Mhm.
says in Sichas Haran that it is better to believe in nonsense and to believe the truth as well than to be so smart that you don't believe the foolishness, but you don't believe in the truth either.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
right.
truth is, I mean, emuna milchatchila isn't something which is unknowable,
Mhm.
but as we said before, okay, that's maybe that was a trick question. I don't know. Anyhow, the thing is, when somebody follows, let's say somebody's getting into real estate market, okay, you can learn, with real estate courses and what the laws are, and you can have your certificate and whatever it is, okay? And then you get into the market itself, and you fall flat on your face. What happened? Because you learned what you learned. You knew what you knew, but you didn't know what it is that you still don't know. The market in real life is a lot more complex and deeper and has its own nature and mahalach and so forth and so on than you can learn in a class. Okay. So if that person will get together with another very seasoned real estate person, okay, he would, jump up and say, this looks like a great idea. That's a great deal. Let's go. The other guy can tell him, listen, there are all kinds of things that you haven't borne in mind, you didn't think about, that are part of this market. Only somebody who went through it and paid the Rebbe guilt, in other words, he failed in whatever it is, he already knows. For instance, okay, there is a real estate guy who is, today is already an advisor to real estate owners here in Shemesh. And the owner of my apartment wanted to raise the rent to something which is, commensurate with current market value. And this other advisor works with him and he pays him whatever it is to advise him. So he came, he took a look at the apartment, looked the way the apartment was taken care of. And I made the apartment owner a counter offer, which was higher than what I was paying, but it was much less than what he wanted. So to my surprise, my landlord came back and said, okay, we'll do it for a year. Then I spoke to this real estate advisor, and he told me that my landlord actually spoke to him. And he told him, listen, it is worth your while to keep this tenant and take less money because A, the apartment is taken care of, very well taken care of. Okay. This type of apartment is usually an apartment that gets young families with small children. And you should anticipate, natural damages, amortization being done to the apartment is not being done by people, with elder folks like folks like me and my wife. Then he said, when you get the apartment, in order to get the money that you want for the apartment, premium price, you have to upgrade the apartment. I mean, as good a condition as it is, you have to upgrade it. So you have to put money into it. Secondly, you're not going to rent out the apartment the minute that they go out. It's going to stand empty for a few months. So whatever it is that you want to gain by doing all things, it can actually result in quite a severe loss for you. They may take you some years to recoup, and on the long run will actually, make you lose money. Now, when somebody just looks at the surface of it and doesn't know, hasn't been around the block a few times, he wouldn't think of all those things. He just look, listen, I have an apartment, I'm getting paid this much, I can get paid, 1,000 or 1,200 shekels more. I want it. Let's do it. But somebody who knows, who has been there, who knows all the nook and crannies, he can say, listen, this is not a good deal. What you want to do is not a good deal. You're better off taking less money than what you want because you'll gain in the long run. Okay? So the Tzadikei Emes are people who went through everything that you are going through. It might have taken them a lot quicker. What took me 50 years, they may have done in a day, or in a week, or in a month. But it is not possible for them to start, to get to where they are without going through your madrega and without being facing your dilemmas, without having your confusions, and without having your doubts. And they went through it and they found out what the truth is. What are the pitfalls? What leads to what? Now, when you come to them, they are similar to that real estate advisor who has been through that. You may be one, apartment owner, but he has been in the business long enough to have known hundreds of apartment owners. And so what is going on? You are one apartment owner and you're just thinking of how much money you can get for your apartment. He is a guy that sees that, just agreeing on a certain rent is not enough. Getting a renter who keeps your property properly and pays you on time is something else completely. So only somebody who has been there, done that, is capable of actually telling you what the truth on the ground actually is.
Okay.
So therefore, what I'm saying is that following the aces of Tzadikei Emes is not a faith. It's not an amorphic emuna. Which, Baruch Hashem, if you believe in the true tzaddikim, this is also good. But it is a logical. It's a logical mahalach. It's a logical thing. I mean, yeah, they've been there. They've done that. They fought all the battles that I'm fighting. They cut through all the confusions that I'm dealing with. And they are looking back because they can tell me, do this and don't do that. Or if I don't want to listen to them, b'vakasha, it's my choice. But I'm the one who's going to pay the ultimate price for that. Okay? Rabbi Wise, is that clear?
So you're saying that following the Tzaddikim Emes, following this, it's just a rational, logical, it's sacred.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
They know that which you don't know. And they took that road. They took the journey that you're taking. So they know. So I can tell her, listen, you're going to embark on that road, but that road has pitfalls later on. Better take over here, even though it's a longer way. it's still worth your while because it's a better road, so forth and so on. There's a Gemara about that. דרך ארוכה שהיא קצרה, דרך קצרה שהיא ארוכה, all these. So, what else? What do you think? What's in your mind? Anybody want to say what happened during the week? Any ideas?
When we come to you, the HO takes out all the questions. Mm.
And he takes from me all the answers, and there we go.
You have good answers. Well, I thought when you were talking about it, the Emuna, by me at least, it comes and goes by. That means most of the time, I don't feel that I'm living with Emuna because I'm not charged. I'm not. There isn't a big reason now to be afraid. I don't know. Baruch Hashem, I'm not in Gaza now. Okay.
Right.
And even when my son was in Gaza, I wasn't afraid. I didn't feel that I'm in Emuna. I feel Emuna pshuta. No, not something big. It's simple and not. I don't feel myself in such a pain or sort a need to do something to believe. I believe.
Say your Muna is not challenged.
Yeah, yeah. Baruch Hashem. I don't want it to be challenged, right? But we don't want we don't ask for the pain. But I'm saying
No,
how I could know it that's emuna or this, blindfold. How I call it.
I think that thing that I understand what it is that you're referring to. When we live in the day to day, our natural feeling is that we believe, Baruch Hashem, kol beseder, no problem. We keep Shabbos, Torah, mitzvahs, Baruch Hashem, kol beseder. And then people are challenged. And suddenly it seems to them like, like, whoa, I was just kidding myself.
Guy's falling.
No, I was kidding myself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I already knew and whatnot, but I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I see that my emuna is like a blanket that either covers my head and exposes my feet, or it covers my feet and exposes my head, but it doesn't cover both at the same time. Unless, of course, I, catch myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very important lesson in emuna, because the natural feeling is, whoa, I was really kidding myself. I was really out of it. Haven't even started, but it's not true. The truth is that emuna has to grow all the time. And part of the experience of growing the emuna, shchon eretz emuna, emuna has to grow. You cultivate emuna like you cultivate.
What's the pasuk again?
Shchon eretz, like shepherd, emuna. Like
Okay.
a shepherd,
Where?
it's sheep and stuff. Whenever it is that you're working on a project and the project has challenges of wow, suddenly I see that my emuna doesn't cover me. I feel exposed. I feel unsure. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen. Is Hashem going to save me? Hashem not going to save me? Is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? I don't know. Suddenly I feel very fragile. I feel very unprotected. Like until now, I'm going in, like I have, I used to say in the old Star Trek thing, I have a deflector shield around me, it protects me. But
Yeah.
suddenly I found that I'm not shielded anymore. So the point of view may be that I was just kidding myself, that I don't really believe. I mean, I believe, but it's not up to snuff. But that's not the truth. The truth is that Emunah needs to grow. And the only way that you can grow in Emunah is if you face those times when your Emunah is not big enough, to cover you and to give you all the solace and all the and all the strength that you possibly get. But the truth is that, first of all, you need to understand that real Emunah is like a child walking with his father in the dark. And suddenly an owl goes, woo, 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 woo. And the child gets really scared. And he goes, Tati, and he holds his father's hand. So the question is that you have your father there, right? So why are you scared? And when you get scared, you cling to your father. What does it help? It have helped you not being scared. How is it going to help you now? The answer is, what, so the child believes that his father will protect him, or he doesn't? The answer is, it is perfectly normal to be afraid and to believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The thing that you need to do is, when you're afraid and you realize that you're not going, like Superman with some kind of, this aura of, being protected by everything around you, that you're afraid with Tati. You're afraid with your daddy. You're afraid with your father. And you're angry together with your father. And you want the comma together with your father.
Wow. That's what you talked a few weeks ago about the difference between bitochen and emunah.
Right.
Bitochen we have, emunah that's charged. And we it's our time checking out again. How strong is it?
And
I mean,
bitochen is applied emunah.
very nice. So it's very, very, very good for very befits the tkufa, the time now. It really we together with Hashem, but we're afraid, or we have questions on stuff, or we have pain, but we feel together. It's not that we have questions, but
that's the time when you realize that you cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when you cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what actually it means that you have emunah, but you don't yet have the bitochen. So when you feel you don't have the bitochen yet, in other words, you're scared. If you have bitochen, you're not scared. But if you're scared, means that the emunah is more theoretical yet, and it's not. I mean, you're talking the talk, but you're not yet walking the walk. Okay. So what happens is that you cling to your father in those trying times, And that brings about the Emunah, takes it from the theoretical level to the physical level, and Emunah turns into bitachon. You know, there's a friend of mine, very choshev in Breslov, Reb Nachman El Arar, he had 2 children. One of them was, I think, 13, the other one was 17, that perished in Meron, in the disaster in Meron. Now, he, all night long, he was trying to call them. There was no answer. There was this big truck, of the medical examiner, whatever it is, that all the bodies were put in. And he didn't know whether his children were in there or they were not. And actually, they came and they interviewed him or whatever, it's on television, whatever. And he said that he sat there the entire night asking Kodesh Baruch Hu for one thing. Ribono Shel Olam, whatever it is that you do, please don't take the emunah away from me. And when I spoke to Mori Rabbi Reb Simcha Bar Lev, and I told him about that, he like burst and he says, "That's the way a Jew talks. That's a Jewish dibur." In other words, this challenge is beyond my capacity. But do me a favor, don't take the emunah away from me. Just don't take the emunah away from me. So it is those challenging times that are actually giving us the opportunity to convert more emunah into bitachon. Because ultimately, bitachon, as the Chazon Ish says in his letters, bitachon is not that I'm certain that Kodesh Baruch Hu will give me what it is I want him to give me. That's not bitachon. Bitachon is that I feel certain that whatever it is that Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to do with me is the best thing for me.
You could say that's emuna. It's to be quiet. That means it doesn't matter. I want something, let's say, or I need something, okay, and I know it will be. That's what should be, and I believe that Hakadosh Baruch Hu is here, and He'll do what's good for me.
That's
So
bitachon. That's already
so,
bitachon.
so I'm, okay. So emuna is less.
No, yeah. Emuna is. I mean, we all believe in the whatever called Man David Rachmana L'Tav Avid. We all believe whatever Kodesh Baruch Hu does, he does it for the best. So it is true on the level of emuna. But when our circumstances, lo aleinu v'lo aleichem, get challenged, bitochen makes you feel it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't throw you off. When you get into this kind of level of bitochen, zekacha v'zekacha. It's still challenging, it's still painful, still because we're still in this world. But it doesn't rattle you, it doesn't shake you, it doesn't break you down. Because Emuna is it's a slogan. I believe in it. I know it's true. but it still didn't go lamata masoret fachim.
Mhm.
Bitochen does that.
Yeah.
And everybody has that. I mean, I assure you, 100%, that if some kind of rich person would tell you, actually, it's something that actually happened. There's a from computer guy, very brilliant, from South Africa also. He was invited to a launch of a new, I don't know, product, whatever it is, by Microsoft. To speak on this occasion, and it so happened that it was on Shabbos. So the guy said, thank you very much, but I can't make it. So they doubled the money. So he said, I can't do it. It's on Shabbos, I can't do it. So they told, I think they told Bill Gates at the time, this guy doesn't want to come, because Shabbos. So they doubled the money again. The guy says, come on. I want this guy, ask him what does it take. He says, you can't offer me what it takes. So at the end of the thing, they actually moved the launching of that product another day, so the guy can participate. And Gates said, he says, all my money is not enough to buy this guy's Shabbos. I have no doubt that the same would be with any one of us. There's no doubt. If anybody would offer any one of us any amount of money to be Michal Shabbos, we will not do it. Pashut. That's bitochen. We already have that flat out. The same thing has to do with Kiddush Hashem. We all had the kind of what Chas Chalila I would to spend whatever it is, standing in a situation of Kiddush Hashem, of give myself over for Kiddush Hashem. Would I do it or wouldn't I do it? I'm telling you now, you would. You would. Would you do it under any circumstances? I don't know. The Gemara says on Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, the three friends of Daniel, right? That Nebuchadnezzar said anybody that doesn't bow down to the idol that he built is going to be thrown into the fire.
Mhm.
And they came, wearing their, the beketches and streimels, and they said, Nebuchadnezzar was so scary, that when he died, I mean, during his lifetime, nobody dared laugh. You think Stalin was scary? There's nothing compared to Nebuchadnezzar. Nothing. People didn't dare to laugh, to smile during his lifetime. And one day, when Daniel told him that he's going to be exiled, his mind is going to be taken away, he's going to live in the forest like an animal.
Mhm.
Eat like an animal, live like an animal, everything like an animal for 10 years, and then he's going to come back. And he went, nobody knew what he was. Okay, so his son became king, everything was fine, whatever it is. 10 years later, he came back riding on a lion. He got his mind back, riding on a lion, and he was wearing a snake as a crown. Nebuchadnezzar. People were so scared of him that when he finally actually died, the people would not accept his son as king until he actually dragged his father's body along the streets of Babylon, so everyone can see that he's actually dead. Only then, okay, now they can breathe. It was that scary. And Hanan Shonazariah told him flat to his face, we're now going to bow to this idol. He says, you are our king when it has to do with taxes and whatever it is, the laws, whatever it is. But he says when it has to do with emunah, has to do with worship, he says you and the dog are equal. Well, that's not the kind of thing that you probably want to say to the scariest person on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we know, they were thrown to the fire. So he said, "Do you think that I'm going to throw it to the fire and Hashem is going to save you?" And they said, "Whether he saves us or doesn't save us, it's the same thing for us. It's no difference." And they threw it to the fire, and the fire didn't touch them. When Nebuchadnezzar says, "What's happening with them?" They say, "We saw, the executioners says they're walking inside the fire." Sees four people. There were three. See four people walking inside the fire, like they're walking in the garden. Nebuchadnezzar told him, come up. Call them by the Babylonian names. Come out. They came out. Their clothing didn't even smell of smoke. The fourth person was the Malach Gavriel, who was the Memuna on fire, to make sure the fire did not touch them. Okay? The Gemara says, however, if instead of being thrown to the fire, Hanan Shazar were beaten,
You won't stand. So.
they would capitulate. They would fall for it. I mean, in other words, every person has his own threshold, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no doubt, that the Pshut Israel, the simplest people in Am Israel, were giving themselves over in Kiddush Hashem. But that we were doing. In fact, Rabbeinu says that if you have problem in concentrating during davening, remind yourself that you are bevadai acquiesce and agree to Dal Kiddush Hashem, and then you'll be able to daven properly with kavanah.
What did you vow? What did you say? What said he?
Okay, the Indian is that if you take a sitter and you look at a sitter, it's just like my mind does not work, and the gears are not meshing. It's not connecting. It's just like I'm out of it. So remind yourself, I'm willing bevadei to dial Kiddush Hashem. If the opportunity, whatever it is, would come, I would bevadei dial Kiddush Hashem, bli shum safek, and then you'll be able to dial it.
Huh.
Because Vav, the letter Vav, when you spell it out, is Vav in Vav, with an Aleph, without an Aleph, doesn't matter. It's Vav. You cannot say the letter Vav without using both the first Vav and the second Vav. Because one Vav won't be a Vav, right? Vav means both of them. The first Vav is Yaakov, the second Vav is Esav. And Yaakov is Emes, and Yosef is Mesiras Nefesh. The minute you're Mesiras Nefesh, you'll get the Emes Yaakov. You'll be able to have the tefillah. Turn the tomorrow. B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us with all Bizach to be Mekadeh Shem Shamayim with our life, live L'Shem Shamayim, and B'ezrat Hashem Zechet to ultimate Vegas. First of all, to listen to Tzadikei Emes. Find out what the truth is from the Tzadikei Emes and follow it, B'ezrat Hashem, to the best of our abilities. We'll have Seres Tevis B'nat Hashem to you,
Amen.
to Klal Yisrael. We see B'nat Hashem Yeshuas and Nechamas Gdoilis, Begashmis, Beruchnius. B'nat Hashem, everybody will follow the Tzaddik Emes B'nat Hashem, and it will be Zorch B'nat Hashem Mashiach come. And Hera Be'ameinu Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Shkoyach. Thank you very
Amen.
much.
Now I don't know. I still
Yes, thank you very much.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it this Thursday with some Medrash. As you can see, I have an eye infection, which is very infectious. So it's a viral infection, it's very infectious. Until this subsides, I cannot, sit with people or whatever it is. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do something on Zoom, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, I wish you a very, very good week.
Amen. Refuah shlema. Feel
Thank you.
good.
Yes, we make it a great week.
Bezat Hashem.
Thank you.
Aaron Pinchas
Amen.
and Sonia. Ik ben van Michel.
Amen. Refuah shlema.
Shkoyach, kol tov.
Before Shalema, yes, before Shalema.
Amen, 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 amen.